Hi everyone, it's Simon Keeling here, and it is Sunday the 3rd of November. Thanks again for watching weatherweb.net. First up today, just a quick look at the MJO. Let's just see how that's faring. And you can see here that it's forecast to be positive. Remember, this is from the GFS Ensemble. Forecast to be positive for the next 14 days. So that hinting very strongly at a strong westerly flow taking us into the middle of the month. The Arctic Oscillation also looking very strong too, in a strong positive mode here, look, and that's the westerly to easterly flow around the poles, hinted at staying at that strong westerly flow, so keeping the cold air towards the north and keeping us in milder westerly conditions. However, that doesn't tell the whole story, but it does show that things stay mixed and pretty breezy through the next 10 to 14 days as far as the ensembles are concerned. Now, the MJO is quite interesting at the moment. This is from the ECMWF, which, if you've been watching the forecast, you know has been tending to lean towards the idea of higher pressure building from the south as we get to the middle of the month, as has the CFS, as has the JMA as well. But this is the forecast going forwards from the 1st of November through to the 2nd of December. And you notice here, look, that it breaks into phase 2 and then into phase 3. This is around the 24th when it gets into phase 3, and it gets into phase 2 around about the 10th. Now, this is quite interesting. It's not the strongest of phases of the MJO, but take a look at what happens in these phases in November. This is typical phase 2 conditions, 500 millibar height anomalies, and notice here we've got lower than normal heights here out to the west of the UK, higher than normal down towards the south, but this building higher than normal heights across the north of Russia. This is the strong jet stream that develops in this flow, with the trough starting to be accentuated through Europe. And what this does is it starts to put colder air down here, forming the cut-off low that is so common across the eastern Mediterranean when we get blocking starting to take place. So that's phase 2. Remember, that's going from about 10th to the 23rd, 24th. Just look what happens in phase 3. Look, this is higher than normal heights. Here's our block across Scandinavia. So what we find is a ridge in the system out towards the east. But look at this deep trough out in the Atlantic. So the flow pattern that we get is that one, like so. And what that does is it promotes the anticyclone across Scandinavia. It brings in sort of two sections of a ridge, one down here that comes up from the Azores, and then more of an easterly flow that comes in from Scandinavia. So it kind of splits the UK into two. It tends to put milder conditions down through Ireland, through southern parts of the UK, colder conditions across Scotland and through eastern coast of the UK, but brings more dominant dry weather across many areas, although the westerly flow for western Scotland still brings the threat of some rain. And it also, and it's not shown too much on here, I think will promote the idea of lower pressure down here in the Med, which continues to promote this idea of the anticyclone. So again, you see how this idea is building from the MJO, that during the second half of the month we see this tendency towards higher pressure. So the idea of the second half of the month certainly being drier than the first, and possibly going cold, although not everywhere. And I think this confusing signal is probably what's confusing the models just at the moment. So that's going to be an interesting feature to watch. But an interesting feature to watch today is this area low pressure out here, out towards the south of Ireland. This is 3 o'clock this afternoon. Now watch what happens as this rain zips eastwards through the course of this evening. Here it is coming in, look, the area of low pressure. Notice the tight ice bars here, driving very rough seas up the channel, bringing gusts of 60 miles per hour plus through the channel as well. And then overnight, the low pressure area passes across southwest England. Heavy periods of rain will be pulling their way eastwards as well across southern parts of England. The strongest of the winds, though, passing to the south of the UK now, across northern parts of France, the southern half of the channel. And at the same time, we're getting this colder northerly flow coming into more northern areas, bringing showers to northern and western Scotland. During the early hours of the morning, the area of low pressure clears east. And then by the morning, we've got this brighter northwesterly flow coming in. This is the chart at 9 o'clock in the morning. This brighter northwesterly flow across most areas. And that leads Monday to be one of the better days of the week. Ridge of high pressure is in. It's a chilly day. Yes, we've got showers across northern and eastern coasts, one or two northern parts of Wales, northern parts of Ireland, but generally it's a dry and cool day. Interesting temperature profile as well for the coming week from the GFS. Here's the dip taking place early on in the week, but then look, temperatures do tend to recover as the winds get back into the west. But look, the GFS again trying to make it cooler here from next weekend onwards, well, the late part of next weekend into the beginning part of the week after. So a quick look through the charts then. This is the chart for midday on Tuesday. Front clearing east, taking outbreaks of rain with it. Dry weather following in from the west. Although I say dry, there will be some showers around, particularly on western coast, but it is going to become brighter. Strong westerly flow still there through Wednesday. Of course, we saw that, didn't we, on the NAO, showing us how strong this westerly was, dominating the pattern. Eastern areas tending to be dry, but some showers down these western coasts and some more persistent rain for southern Ireland and southwest England. Thursday looks to be a windy day, with these winds driving in from the west. Gales in the west, bringing some pretty heavy showers here. Drier towards the east and the south, though, with some sunny spells. And then for Friday, looks as if we will get a little area of low pressure just zipping through on the jet stream through Ireland, through northern parts of England, taking rain with it, probably the heaviest of it across more western and southern areas, brighter for eastern parts of Scotland until the rain arrives later on in the day, and probably drier across eastern parts of England too until in the afternoon. And then again, we're sort of thinking about this high building in. This is the chart from the GEM for the 13th. And notice the high trying to get into the south on the GEM here, but still a strong southwesterly flow across most of the country. But that would certainly bring drier conditions through England, Wales, southern and eastern Ireland and the south of Scotland, although pretty windy for northern and western areas. The ECMWF ensemble, very similar too. Here's the high, look, here's the ridge building in as well. As is the ECMWF ensemble. Here's the high, look, here's the ridge. Yes, it's not quite so dominant with that ridge idea. It slows it down a little bit, but the ridge is still there. And the GFS trying to show something similar too. Here's the high, here's the ridge. Look, it's not as dominant as the Canadian and the ECMWF ensembles are showing it, but the idea is there. And this is the ridge building north here, pumping the warm air northwards all the time and trying to get this ridge built in here by about the 14th or 15th. So plenty going on then, and I do still think we've got to look from the middle of the month to see these conditions potentially drying down, and I think an increasing risk of frost and fog in the middle of the month. Certainly this is the stormy period we're going through now and for the next 10 days or so. So once again, thanks for watching and keep the sun shining. Bye for now.